Hi there, this is Sophie and I'll be showing you how to do a dry point. So, for the first thing I'm going to point out is my setup I've got going on here. So I've got the reference picture as a piece of paper underneath the perspex so you can see through it fairly easily. And I've taped it down just to keep it secure and it's not going to slide about when I begin carving. So I will start carving now. So what you're going to be needing is this little device here. It's got a sharp pointed end which will help when you begin scratching into the dry point. So I'll start off a little bit here. I got a little going on already, and it doesn't matter how deep the crevices you scratch into are, usually even the lightest of scratches will come out. But if you want those really dark lines, I'd say you want to start really scratching in and making quite deep crevices. But whatever you do, don't hold too much on the scribe because your fingers will start aching. So take regular breaks when you're doing this kind of thing. So I've completed scratching now, and this is the end result once I've taken it off the reference photo. And I'm really pleased with how it's come out. I focused on certain areas that are going to be darker because where I scratch will be where the darker areas show up. And I should also note that with the writing on the reference photo, I reversed that already, so that's often the mistake that happens. You'll have an image with some words on it and you'll scratch that in, but once you think about it, this plate is going to be reversed down facing the paper, so this side you can see how it will look. And this will be what it looks like once it's printed. So it's really important that you reverse the lettering, and then it'll come out a lot neater like this, and it's actually readable. So yeah, there we go. So now that we've finished the dry point plate, we're going to go into the inking process now. So I'll first show you my setup. I've got this little bit of magazine covering my bench. This is so that none of the ink stains the table, just keeps the place tidy, etc, etc. And you can have a quick little look at my tools. I've got my palette knife and the inks here, and I like to use my old credit cards and stuff to spread the ink on the plate. And I've got some cotton buds as well as some cut up pieces of tracing paper. And let's get started then. So the first part of the inking process is gloves. You're going to need gloves just to keep you clean and tidy. You also don't want to stain any of the paper that you'll be handling, because once it gets on your hands it takes a while to wash off. So what we're first going to do is I'm going to open up my my ink. So you'll find when inking you don't need that much ink, especially for something small like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start putting the ink on the plate. And just like that, might need a little bit more just so it spreads about. Just spread it across a bit. And then I'm going to get my handy dandy credit card, and then I'm going to start spreading the ink across the plate. And what you're going to be doing, you're going to be pushing all that ink into the crevices where you've scratched the plate. Might need just a tad more. Just push it on every corner. I usually try to work like from the center out, just so you're not losing paint off the side of the plate. So now I can just start. Oh, stay there. Just stay still. Put it there. And that's your plate all inked up. And now it's onto the blotting stage. You'll find it's a little hard to see the details when you move it about, but once you start blotting and taking away parts of that ink, it'll become a lot clearer. So the first one we're going to do, get some of this. Oh, realised I missed a spot in that corner. There we go, that's better. So what we're going to do is we're going to be blotting as we go. We're taking away ink, but not too much that the ink within the crevices gets removed. So we've got this very, very gently. Just start pushing down on this ink. This is just going to get rid of the excess ink from when we first pushed it around. And just spread it across. And I like to not waste too much of my material, so I'll use the back side as well. And don't worry too much about getting your gloves stained. If it gets on the plate, it's no issue really. And you might be able to see, I'm starting to see a little bit of details, like you can sort of see where the roller part is coming to. But next, okay, sorry about that. I needed to plug in my phone, it was running out of charge. Alright, so once you've blotted it just a little bit with the tracing paper, you're going to be using this all-purpose cloth and just, I try to round it a little bit on the edge and just do some delicate like swirls and just dabbing ever so slightly. Now you don't want to rub too hard because you don't want to take away the ink from the important lines that we want. I chose this bright yellow magazine so it's a bit easier to see the line. And just gonna twirl it a little bit, just get another dry side and just go through that again. There we go. Now it's starting, you're starting to see it coming together. It's a little faint, but it is slowly coming together. There you go, see a few lines here showing up. And let's see if we can get the dry point sign to show up. There we go, some of the lettering's coming out quite nicely actually. Just keep twirling it about. Just getting the dry bit. Just gentle dabbing, not too hard. You'll find that many different people have a different technique for doing this. This is just what I was taught when I learnt it in a workshop. But you'll find that everyone has a different way of doing it. Some people might use different cloths. I've heard that some might actually use scrim, but I find that scrim is a bit expensive, so I can't always get a hold of it. So this cloth will just do normally. You can get it quite cheaply. And let's have a little look. You can sort of see that progress coming along now. Just a few extra dabs. I think it's coming together quite nicely. Just a few extra bits around the edge. And I don't want to take away too much of the ink because I do actually quite like it when a faint blue comes up, but the most important part is just getting the darker areas where the roller is. Just have a little look-see round. And don't worry too much if some ink gets on the back of the plate. It's really no issue as long as the etching press is covered up with like some tracing paper and such. It won't transfer on all your nice surfaces. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using these little cotton buds. Now this is just really to emphasize the areas you want. Like especially for me, I'm quite concerned about making sure the lettering pops out quite nicely. So I might just go with the center of this letter D and just rub away some of this ink here. It just comes out a little bit better. And the area where this P is, just gets it out, brings it out, and with the R as well. Again, you don't want to rub too much on the lines or anything like that, because that'll take ink away from the little crevices we've made. But we just a few areas, maybe a little bit of shine there. Just get around the edges of the scribe here. And you'll just go around finding areas you want to pop out a bit more. Depends on what your preference is. You might actually like it looking quite obscured, but for the sake of making the lettering come out really nicely and very clear, we'll focus on this bit. In that eye area, I just want to just very delicately get the tip, just so that eye comes out. It's not looking like part of that N. Same here, just make that eye come out very nicely. Flip that around, just get around the edges of the P and get that nice underline. And maybe some areas where the paint pots are, just so they're not complete black blobs. Let's get some of the edges so it just gets that nice outline. And I've gone about fiddling with cotton buds for ages, but try and not go too overboard, because again, you want to keep that nice glassy look that often comes with dry points. And that's often achieved by the little faint areas of blue that still get transferred. So I'll go ahead and work around this and do a bit more cotton budding, and I'll see you in a couple minutes. So I'm just going to show you up against the window just so it's a bit more clearer. And I mean, like, you can see the dry point lettering has come out quite nicely. And yes, I say that is definitely ready for printing. Oh, that's quite nice. Now before I put the ink on the press, let's just see what was going on while I was doing that. So while I was inking, I had the paper submerged in water. Now it might seem a bit odd, but there's a reason to this, don't worry. So the intaglio ink, it needs a damp surface to fully transfer the ink onto the paper. So it can't be dripping wet like this, it just needs to be damp. So once again, we're going to do some blotting. So I'll lay this out here, lay the cloth on here, and then I'm gonna start putting the fabric over and then just blotting it away. And how's it looking? So what you want to try and avoid is that there is a bit of a shine to it. So you don't want your paper to be shiny. That's usually a good oh, that's very shiny on this side, and you don't want that. That means it's too wet. So let's do another layer of blotting. Let's do it this side. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed while I hold the camera. So how that's looking. Look here, get it in the light. Yeah, there's still a few damp areas, so let me just get this next bit. You can tell I use these tea towels a lot. They have lots of ink stains on it. So how's that looking? That feels quite damp, and it's not shiny when I put it in the light. And yeah, I'd say that's perfect. So that is ready to be printed on. So this is my etching press, and the way I've got this set up is I want the print to come out in a certain area of the paper. So I've traced around the edge of an A4 piece of paper, and my little A6 size plate needs to fit just in the corner, just like that. And I've all outlined it so it's easy to do. And then I'm going to put the paper on. So what I'll do, I can't really do it one-handed, but what I'll do is I'll line up these corners with these corners I've got on the paper, and it will help me lay it out accurately, as accurate as it can be. A lot of printing is trial and error, so there are going to be mistakes. So we'll see how well I do with this. Yeah, success! So I think I've got it just right in that corner. So what you want to avoid doing is moving the paper around too much. And then what we're going to do is going to pop this over. Just make sure that stays still. Alright, and I will roll that through. Let's see how it comes out. Look at that, everyone. It's come out perfectly. I'm so pleased with that. I'm quite chuffed. I always get a bit camera shy, and I was a bit worried that might have affected how it comes out. But no, it's come out beautifully, and it's right off the edge, right where I want it to be. And now the next stage is for my fellow artists, Zoe Yates, to fill out the next section. Good luck to you, Zoe. Can't wait to see what you do.